Hello fans and friends across the universe. Welcome to my YouTube channel From Me to You. My name's Keir Smith. For today's video I'd like to talk about the humble beginnings of Wings, specifically their debut album and their first two singles. Wings were formed very quickly. There's Paul and Linda, of course, and Denny Seiwell on drums. He had already auditioned for Paul and Linda and performed on their Ram album. And when Paul was looking for a singer-songwriter, someone to collaborate with, he called up his old friend Denny Laine, who had been in the popular 60s group The Moody Blues. And starting life as a four-piece band, Wings were formed and they set about recording their debut album, Wildlife, very quickly. And McCartney explained, Dylan inspired Wildlife because we heard he had been in the studio and done an album in just a week. So we thought of doing it like that, putting down the spontaneous stuff and not being too careful. So it came out a bit like that. And as it says on the back cover of the Wings Wildlife LP, in 3 days they had laid down most of the tracks, and by the end of a couple of weeks the album was finished. And so on the 8th of November 1971, Paul and Linda booked out the Empire Ballroom in Leicester Square, London. And they threw a party to launch Wings as a band and their debut album, Wildlife. A gentleman called Barry Latigan took the cover photo for Wildlife at Osterley Park, a venue that Wings would revisit for the cover photo of Band on the Run. The first thing I'd like to say is, I really like the cover of Wildlife. Wings looking very relaxed in the great outdoors, and I've always thought that this is a cover that informs the music on the album. Wildlife was released on the 7th of December 1971, just shy of 7 months after Paul and Linda's Ram album. So with all that said, let's get down to the music, and I'll go through the album now, track by track. Starting with the track Mumbo, which is the sound of Wings warming up really. Paul yells, "Take it Tony," to Tony Clark, the engineer, to get the tapes going, and he captures a live performance. It's a rough, ramshackle rocker. It's a live jam performance. Paul yelps, wails and screams and does his Little Richard thing. I think it works well as an opening track. It's very loose but sets the tone for the album. Up next is the laid back and mellow Bip Bop, and this is a little bluesy thing, a nice melody. The tune is softly picked on an electric guitar. I like Paul's husky voice and Linda's harmonies are nice, but it's throwaway material at best and it goes on a little too long for me. I think it would have worked a lot better if it was a 2.5 minute song. Up next is Love Is Strange, which is a cover version of the Mickey and Sylvia hit from 1957, and this is lightweight material but good fun. I really like the arrangement here. Denny Seiwell plays some really good shuffling rhythm on drums, the guitar works good, the harmonies are starting to come together here, and Paul's lead vocal is good, especially just before the 3.5 minute mark where it really takes off. That's good. Love Is Strange is a good song, but it's hardly strong material. And up next, to close side one of the album, is the title track, and this is a long, sprawling, bluesy jam, a real gritty performance. The lead guitar work throughout this song is excellent. I really like Paul's raspy vocal, good harmonies, and it sounds like the band are starting to gel. And I like the subject matter too, Paul sticking up for animal rights, and I really like the lyric, "You're breathing a lot of political nonsense in the air." And opening side two of the album, we've got Some People Never Know, which is a nice acoustic piano-led tune, and Paul and Linda are duetting here in blissful harmony. And it's all rather nice. It's a nice melody. I really like that chord change that leads into the bridge where Paul sings "Some People Can Sleep at Night Time." But again, I think that this song could have been edited down a little bit. The outro is a little bit clunky too, but all in all, it's a nice song. And then we've got I Am Your Singer, which is a soft acoustic ballad. Paul and Linda share lead vocals and duet for the chorus. The flute part's quite nice and it's a nice little love song, nothing more. And then we get a 50-second reprise of Bip Bop with a slightly different melody. And that leads into the song Tomorrow, which is a really good song, a really good piece of songwriting. Bring a bag of bread and cheese and we'll find a shaded spot beneath the trees. It sounds like a perfect day out for two lovers. It's a really nice melody, nice piano, good harmonies, and it builds to quite a crescendo towards the end. When Paul sings Baby Don't Let Me Down Tomorrow and his voice goes from high to low and then back up again, it's a great vocal performance. I really like Tomorrow. I think it's a minor McCartney classic. And then we come to the song Dear Friend, which lyrically finds Paul reaching out to John. And the song communicates a sense of loss and regret. Dear friend, what's the time? Is this really the borderline? Does it really mean so much to you? Are you afraid? Or is it true? Paul sings and plays softly at the piano, but as the song builds, so does the tension, and strings swirl around, the sound of trumpets softly creep in, the splashing of cymbals. It's quite moody and dramatic, but it's all masterfully done, and Dear Friend is, without doubt, the highlight of the album for me. And then to close the album, we get a rough stop-start 45-second jam reprise of Mumbo. And it sounds good, but it peters out just as you're getting into the groove of it. And that closes the Wings Wildlife album. So, my thoughts on the album. I have to say, I've always struggled with Wildlife. I don't think it's a very good album. I don't think it's a bad album. I don't dislike it. But for years and years, I've always thought there's three really good songs on the album. Wildlife, Tomorrow, and Dear Friend. I kind of like Love Is Strange too. And that's half the album, right? But Mumbo, Bit Bop, Some People Never Know, and I Am Your Singer, I can take or leave really. And I do understand it was Paul's idea to start Wings from nothing and build it up, but having already released the similarly lo-fi McCartney album, and then follow that up with the much more focused, orchestrated, and well-produced album in Ram, Wildlife seems regressive, and I've always found it difficult to understand why that move was made. But that's Wildlife. You get what you're given. It's unrehearsed. It was recorded in a rush. There's no studio trickery or polish assigned to these songs, and that's part of its charm for many. It was bashed by critics pretty much across the board. Rolling Stone writer John Mendelsohn said, Wildlife is high on sentiment, but rather flaccid musically, and impotent lyrically, trivial and unaffecting. Don't hold back, say what you mean. Fast forward to February the 25th, 1972. This was the release date of Wings' debut single, Give Ireland Back to the Irish, and this is an old promotional poster from 1972. And as you can see, it's telling you that the single is banned everywhere. But I like this bit here. It says, people will come to listen at your shop. Be prepared. Give Ireland Back to the Irish was Wings' politically charged response to the events of Bloody Sunday, when British troops shot dead civil rights protesters in Northern Ireland. And Paul's heart was certainly in the right place. Paul explained that half of Liverpool was Irish, and it felt like it was an attack on him and his people. And it's not a bad song, it's a decent tune, but the lyrics are overly simplistic for a complex situation. And it was a relatively low chart placing, number 16 in the UK and number 21 in the US. It did, however, top the Irish singles charts. It was an underwhelming debut single, and it's not a song that I go back to too often. On to the 12th of May 1972, and Wings' second single was issued, Mary Had a Little Lamb. And this song was based on the traditional nursery rhyme of the same name, and McCartney said that it was a sincere effort to write a song for children. And of course, Paul's daughter Mary was still a baby at this point. And that's all well and good, but this song is throwaway at best and largely forgettable. Remarkably, the song reached number 9 in the UK, but only number 28 in the US. So, a debut album and 2 singles in, these really were humble beginnings for Wings. And for a name as big as Paul McCartney's, ex-Beatle Paul, this really wasn't good enough. Thankfully, things would improve. So that was my take on the early days of Wings. But what do you think? What do you think to the Wildlife album? And what do you think to the two early singles, Give Ireland Back to the Irish and Mary Had a Little Lamb? Please leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Please give the video the thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Please subscribe to the channel. There'll be lots more to come. Thanks as always for watching. See you next time.